Welcome to the Mercer County Football Show, presented by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton. With the Trentonians, Rich Fisher, I am Sean Lerman, filling in for Mike Samsel this week, who is out sick, but we hope that he will return next week. In the meantime, Rich and I will do what Mike and Rich do every week. We'll break down all the games. We'll talk about what's coming up this weekend on the WBCB Sports Network and what the big games are in Mercer County football. Before we get started, on the WBCB Sports Network this week on Friday at 7 p.m., airtime of 6:45 p.m. It's Trenton at Allentown. You can listen to that game on 107.7 FM The Bronx. And on Saturday afternoon, Steiner at Nottingham. That game will be on 1490 AM WBCB and WBCB 1490.com. So, Rich, it was an exciting week of Mercer County football. We got to do a game together that was a pretty good one.
Yeah, we did. It was a lot of fun. First, may I just say,
I see. Repping the Cubs.
As the Cubbies have finally done it, I am showing my Cubs colors. I am not a Cubs fan per se, but I am a bandwagon fan, diehard bandwagon fan.
All right.
So we're saying go Cubbies. Secondly, is Mike really sick or is he embarrassed to be here? Because I will throw him under the bus. For those of you who tuned in to last week's video and saw the week before, that's all on Mike Samsel. And I think when you turned on to this video today, you might have thought we put up last year's video, since Sean and I did this last year. But it is, however, week 8, and we are ready to go. And yes, Sean, we did see a great game last week. Nottingham 28, Lawrence 21. Two good teams, two of the better teams in the area. Nottingham got off to its usual slow start, down 14-0. Came back, went up 21-14. Lawrence, as we know they can do, came back, tied it 21-all. Nottingham came back and got a last-second touchdown from John Jacobs, who we'll talk a little bit more later. Jacobs, Lawrence, both teams didn't have big running backs at the end of the game. They were both hurt, and Lawrence was really hurt by the fact that Ryan Kalbline, their quarterback, was on the bench, and when they got the ball back with under about 50-some seconds ago, they couldn't throw the ball to try to get back in it. So that was a tough break for Lawrence. What a game. Jacobs, Deontay Nicholson, Zaire Smith, and Miles Mitchell-White all ran for 100 yards. So it was a good running game.
It really was, and you know, a lot of times you look at high school football games, and you see that there were only 6, 7, 8 pass attempts for the entirety of the game. You go, oh, that's bad high school football. But that really wasn't the case, because these weren't 1-2 yard runs.
No.
These guys all of them were busted off 7-yard runs, 12-yard runs. It was a good game.
It was good hard running. Yeah, it was kind of muddy conditions, so and they're both running teams anyhow. So yeah, it was good. I always like running games. You always like to keep that clock going. 8 million incomplete passes leads to those 3-hour games. So that drains you.
So, what other games sort of stood out to you this week?
Well,
there were a few good ones.
The Hightstown Rams.
Yeah.
Once again, every week we got some team that's doing something that wasn't expected. Hightstown, congratulations to the Rams. Get their first win of the season. They did it against West Windsor Plainsboro South in that battle of Route 571, as we like to call it. 36-35. Sergi Felazor scored his third touchdown of the game in overtime. They kicked the extra point. West Windsor came back, scored a touchdown, and Skip Edwards decided to go for the win right then and there. Decided to go for the 2 points, and Hightstown held it. Let's see who had that tackle. Doug Saunders scored the touchdown, and then Michael Quigg made the stop on the run to prevent West Windsor from getting the winning 2-point conversion.
And we saw West Windsor do that earlier this year. I don't know if you were at the game,
I wasn't there,
but I was there when they went for the 2-point conversion against Hamilton, and they ended up winning that game by 1 point after that 2-point conversion that they made successfully. So that's been in his playbook this year. I wonder if Hightstown was sort of ready if that scenario was going to crop up again.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Could be. But great job by the Rams. So that leaves no winless teams now in Mercer County. So you like to see that. I mean, it doesn't sound like much, but you hate to see a team go a whole season and not get a win. And the last big game to talk about is those Hamilton Hornets. Hamilton suddenly the second hottest team in Mercer County and from the CVC in the Western Jersey Football League. They won their third in a row, 16-12, beat Ewing. And this was a signature win for the Hornets because their 2 previous wins were against teams that did not have a victory. We had said before, if you could stop a Damian Doggett from doing one or the other, passing or throwing the ball, you could have a good shot at stopping Ewing. Doggett had a good rushing game. He rushed for 120, but he only threw for 54 yards. Hamilton forced them into 4 for 14 passing. So they did take away the passing game, and they ended up getting a 16-12 victory. Huge win for the Hornets. Reggie DeMonch and Hezekiah Patterson both ran for the touchdowns. 3 in a row for Hamilton, so they're looking good.
And on the other side of that, though, the Ewing Blue Devils now 1-3 since starting to see the season 3-0. Now the pieces are still there for them to be competitive, and looking at the rest of their schedule, they may be okay the rest of the way. But they're a team that got off to a hot start that has sort of hit some bumpy roads here in the middle of the season.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, you're exactly right after a hot start. So I plan on talking about that a little when we look forward to this week's game. So,
okay, all right. Well, then I won't spoil it.
You know.
That's something that I wanted to talk about with Lawrence as well, potentially a little bit. They started off 4-0, and then they had that. There was that big Ewing-Lawrence matchup, and now since starting 4-0, Lawrence is 1-2 from that point. So they're a team to keep an eye on. I think it's been a fun year of Mercer County football in that now everyone's starting to come together to that middle of the road. You don't see a ton of teams with 1 win, and you don't see anybody really with 7 or 8 wins. You don't see anybody with 8 wins because we've only played 7 games, so you don't see anybody with 8 wins. But you don't see a ton of teams with 6, 7 wins, and it seems like everyone's in that same range where it's fun football every week.
Yeah, they're kind of you really don't know what to expect anymore when these winless teams knock off these other teams. So, all right. So I guess we're gonna pick our athlete teams and players of the week now.
Sounds good to me.
We do usually give you the 12th Man Club, but we hadn't received it yet at the time of us taping this. So I'm going to go with my team of the week. I'm going to go with those Hamilton Hornets. A lot of people said when they got the 2 wins in a row, well, they beat 2 teams without a win. They beat Northern Burlington. They beat Hightstown. But now, Ewing's a very good team. Hamilton went out. Hamilton's defense has been playing outstanding. That was a huge win. Put him in the playoff hunt. And so Hamilton is my team of the week.
Yeah, and for me, it's got to be Hightstown. They get their first win of the season after struggling for the beginning of the year. A win in overtime, just huge for a school that loves football, even though it's not always the most competitive. They've had some good years in there, and it's good to see them get their first win of the season.
You sure is. And who do you have for your player of the week, Sean?
Player of the week, I've got to go with the guy that I saw, John Jacobs. He had an incredible game, especially filling in once Nicholson went down with the injury, and that second half was outstanding as a runner, and they used him as a fullback at times, blocking too for some of the other guys on Nottingham, and did an outstanding job opening holes for all the other running backs.
And not only that, he hit some good punts, and
that's right. He had 2 amazing punts.
Had a great punt, and he played outside linebacker and defensive end, and he was all over the field. So excellent choice by you.
And a game-winning touchdown.
And a game-winning,
can't forget that.
And oh, by the way. And mine is going to be, we're going back to that Hightstown team. Mine is Johnny Andre, the running back. He rushed for 187 yards and 2 touchdowns. This is a kid that's been playing as a freshman. It seems like he's been around forever, and he has. He's explosive, and so he really gave that team a lift, a couple big runs. And so Johnny Andre, my athlete of the week. Congratulations to our teams and our athletes of the week.
All right, so I think we'll take a quick break. We'll come back and start to preview some of the Friday night action in Mercer County this weekend. This Friday, we'll have Trenton at Allentown at 7 o'clock on 107.7 The Bronx. Tune in at 6:45.
Let me interrupt you on that. I looked
away.
on the Allentown schedule today, and they had that scheduled for 6 o'clock.
Ah.
So
okay, we'll look into that.
Yeah, we better look into that. Usually Friday night games are 7, but it's homecoming at Allentown, so I don't know if they're moving it up because of that. But their schedule says 6 o'clock on Colonial Valley CVC.org. So
well, we'll check that out during this commercial break, and maybe have an answer for you on the other side, or we'll tell you if we don't have an answer for you either. Back with more of the Mercer County Football Show after this.
Hello, this is Acting Mercer County Prosecutor Angelo Honorfree, and I hope you're enjoying today's game. I'd like to take this opportunity to wish all of our Mercer County teams the best of luck, and I would also like to urge parents to be involved in your children's activities. Urge them to participate in after-school activities, whether it's on the athletic field or in the school play or marching band. Participation in these programs is a great learning experience for your child. Parents, please stay involved. This is your Acting Mercer County Prosecutor Angelo Honorfree, and I hope you enjoy today's game.
Jerry Blavitt here to tell you about St. Francis Medical Center, the heart hospital in the city of Trenton. St. Francis Medical Center is one of the region's top cardiac care centers. serving all of Mercer, Bucks, and Burlington counties. Their staff of highly trained physicians provide state-of-the-art heart care to patients with cardiovascular disease and pride themselves as being the only regional heart center to offer a full spectrum of individualized services. And Consumer Report ranks St. Francis Medical Center in the top 10 hospitals in New Jersey for safety. And the #1 hospital in Mercer County, St. Francis Medical Center, the Heart Hospital.
Welcome back to the Mercer County Football Show with the Trentonians' Rich Fisher. I'm Sean Lerman. The show, as always, brought to you by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton. Also brought to you by the all-new Fish for Scores. Rich, tell us a little bit about the new website. I don't know how much longer we can keep calling it the new website.
Yeah, it's been about a month and a half now. Yeah, well, we try to get a couple stories up a week. It's got a new look to it. We have the same old, not the same old, we have the continue with the Rossi's Fish for Scores Athlete of the Week. We're trying to get 2 or 3 stories, feature-like stories up about Hamilton Township teams. We have something up today about Hamilton and Nottingham's wins, but focusing more on the season in general. Something about Steinert's run to the boys soccer Mercer County tournament semifinals. They were 12th seed and upset a couple teams. So, we're trying to slowly come back, and you're not going to see every score every day, but you'll see a few stories a week having to do with Hamilton Township that you won't see anyplace else. So we'll see how it goes, Sean.
All right, and I do have to say the new revamped look. It looks great. Very easy to read through it. Love the sort of new.
Sort of new, yeah. Well, we'll tell Mike Sabo. He designed it, so good job, Mike Sabo.
Good job, Mike Sabo. Well done.
Go.
All right, so before we get into the Friday night games, why don't we go over some of the PowerPoints a little bit? We're 7 games into the season. Amazingly, only a couple more weeks of the regular season. It feels like it just started. So what are we looking at as far as PowerPoints?
Well, as we should mention, PowerPoints count for your first 8 games. So teams have either played 7 or 6 games at this point. And I'm just going to go through teams in our area that still have a shot, perhaps, at the playoffs. We'll start with North Jersey 2, Group 4. West Windsor-Plainsboro North is in 10th place right now with 58 points. They have a real slim chance. I mean, they'd have to win and need a heck of a lot of help. So I don't know what's going to happen there with them. Central Jersey Group 4, Allentown's in 2nd place with 94 points. Nottingham is in 3rd place with 90 points. Brick Township leads with 101 points. All 3 of them have 7 games. So if they all win this week, Brook will be 1, Allentown 2, Nottingham 3. Nottingham's probably kicking itself over that loss to Notre Dame, which could have had it up there in 2nd place. But, they'll still have a first-round home game if they finish 3rd. Central Jersey Group 3, Ewing is 2nd at 101 points. That's probably where they're going to end up in 2nd. South Plainfield is 3rd with 90. So they're down by 11. Somerville's 1st with 117. They trail them by 116. Lawrence is 5th with 88, and they're only 1 point ahead of Cranford. They all have 7 games. They're also only 1 point behind Carteret, but Carteret's only played 6 games, so that might be tough there. They got to watch out for Rahway too, who's behind them in 7th place. Rahway's 5-1, so they have a game at hand. South Jersey Group 5. Believe it or not, Trenton Tornadoes at 2-5 are in the playoffs if the season ended right now. They have 54 power points. They're in 8th place.
Well, they've played a really difficult schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like every other week they were going up against a team that at the time was either undefeated or only had 1 loss. They played a tough schedule.
Yeah, they have. And, so they're 2-5, 54 power points. But behind them, they got to watch out. Atlantic City is behind them with 50 power points, just 4 behind. And Atlantic City's only played 6 games. They're 3-3. So that extra game at hand could make the difference there for Trenton. And finally, South Jersey Group 3. It's funny that we're going North Jersey to South Jersey here. This used to all just be Central Jersey. Now it's all over the place. Hamilton, with their big win over Ewing, moved into the 8th spot at 4-2. And I forgot to write down how many power points they had. I deleted that by mistake. But they've only played 6 games.
Somewhere between 66 and 59.
Yeah, somewhere. Right? Yeah, I think it was 62, if I'm not mistaken. And they're only 4 behind Lakewood, but Lakewood's only played 6 games. The problem is all the teams around them have all played 6 games. So they're going to have to keep winning, and if they keep winning, they should be okay. A lot of times residual points come into play, so it's hard to say exactly unless you just sit down there and study it and I don't have time for that.
A lot of teams right on the cusp is what it sort of looks like.
Well, it's solid. I mean, Ewing's definitely in. Lawrence should definitely be in. Allentown and Nottingham are definitely in. After that, Trenton's on the cusp. Hamilton's on the cusp. West Windsor outside looking in. Oh, no, West Windsor is out right now, hoping for a miracle. Same with Robbinsville. Their coach was saying after their game, we need to win and have a lot happen. Well, they need a really lot to happen. They're 10th with 55 points in Central Jersey Group 3. Mathematically, they're still in it, but they need a lot to have happen too. So that's about it.
All right, so we'll look at some of the Friday games coming up this weekend. First off, on the WBCB Sports Network, Trenton at Allentown. We looked it up. Looks like a 6 p.m. kickoff. Keep an eye on at Fish4Scores on Twitter and at WBCB Sports on Twitter as we get closer when we confirm everything. But it looks like a 6 p.m. kickoff, so we'll go live with the Trentonian pregame show about 5:45 p.m. for that one. Other games on Friday night, Hamilton at West Windsor Plainsboro North, Notre Dame at Hightstown, Ewing at Princeton, and Robbinsville at Lawrence. But let's talk about that Trenton at Allentown game. To get started here, that's one between a couple of teams who are still fighting.
Well, yeah, I mean, Trenton's the desperate team in this one because Trenton needs a win to kind of keep that playoff berth. Allentown actually has a shot at catching Brick Township for the top spot in Central Jersey 4. If they can beat Trenton and Brick loses this weekend, they could go ahead of Brick Township. So really, both teams coming in for something to play for. Trenton's going to have to figure out how to stop this Allentown offense. Allentown has won 4 games in a row, and during those 4 games, they've scored 172 points, which is an average of 43 points a game. I mean, they're just on fire now. They're clicking on all cylinders. They have all their running backs back. Their offensive line has come together. Trenton, Trenton's just got to be physical and try to use that quickness and strength up front, but it's a tall order. This is not the team Trenton wants to play to have to try to clinch 8th place in the playoffs.
Right.
So it's going to be an interesting game. We say that about a lot of these Allentown games, and then Allentown just ends up blowing the team out. So we'll see what happens.
So some of the other games, Robbinsville at Lawrence is another big one because we mentioned Lawrence coming off that loss to Nottingham, 1-2 in their last 3 games. They're looking to get back on track.
Yeah, well, Robbinsville has a tall task here for 2 reasons. One, as you mentioned, they're coming off a tough loss. 2, this is Lawrence's first home game of the year.
All right.
Their turf field is finally ready. It's the debut of their turf field and the lights and everything else. So the adrenaline's going to be really flowing for the Cardinals that night. They are going to be sky high, and we still, like we said, are fighting for these playoff spots. I don't know what the status of Ryan Kalbein and Zaire Smith is. I mean, they didn't look too bad on the sidelines the other day, so we don't know. Robbinsville, they should probably be pretty upset coming in this one too. They're coming off a 49-0 loss to Holy Cross. That was their worst loss of the year. So they're going to be a pretty angry team too. But Lawrence is really going to have a lot of adrenaline. They're going to be really pumped this weekend.
Next game that's going to be a big one on Friday night, Hamilton and West Windsor Plainsboro North. That should be a close matchup. Hamilton 4-2, North is 3-4. Hamilton coming off of that big win over Ewing. Now West Windsor Plainsboro North coming off of a loss to Pemberton. So that should be another close game, I would think.
Yeah, well, it probably should be a good game, Sean. And every week we say the same thing. Anytime you watch a North game, it's a good game because they're fun to watch offensively. We say it every week.
Yeah.
And thing is, they give up points, so it's usually a pretty competitive game. Hamilton now has been playing really good defense lately. I talked to Tom Hoagland on Sunday. He praised his defensive line, Ramel Turner, James White, John Petrowski, and Marlon Pert, and they've been really solid on the defensive line. Reggie DeMonch has been a terror on both sides of the ball.
He's a monster.
He had to step up on offense when Mark Bethea got hurt early before the season. They put him in the backfield, and he's all over the place offensively and defensively. Can this Hamilton defense stop this West Windsor North offense? That's the question. Brian Murphy throws the ball great, and they score a lot, but they've allowed, in all 4 of their losses, they've given up 30 points or more, and in 2 of them, they've given up 40 points or more. So, Hamilton West offense hasn't been spectacular. They've only scored 16 points each of the last 2 games. They may be able to score a few in this one. Can they stop West Windsor North? We'll see. It's going to be interesting.
Quick story about Reggie DeMonch. I was, after the West Windsor Plainsboro South game, that Hamilton did lose, but he had an amazing game in that one. I was telling my dad about Reggie DeMonch, and so I'm like, all right, let me show you some highlights. So I'm showing him the highlights from that game. He goes, wow, this kid's really good, very impressive. But, you can make anybody good when you take a season's worth of highlights and put them in a video. I said, no, Dad, this is one game. It's like a 5-minute long highlight video just from that one game, all Reggie DeMonch, and it just shows how good he is on both sides of the ball.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And he was our Fish for Scores Athlete of the Week last week, so... unbelievable. Of course, his brother Jason played in the NFL for Cincinnati and Cleveland. So, what do we got? Our last game. Now, this is going to be interesting, Sean. Notre Dame at Hightstown on Friday night. 2 weeks ago, this looked like it'd be a battle of winless teams. Notre Dame got their first win against Nottingham. A week later, Hightstown gets their first win. So now it's a different storyline, thankfully, for both sides. Hightstown's obviously on a high after defeating West Windsor South, which is a markedly improved team this year, so that was a pretty good win. Notre Dame is coming off a 38-10 loss to Rancocas Valley. RV took a 31-0 lead at halftime and kind of cruised from there. Notre Dame...
I just choked to death over here real quick.
I understand. Yeah, my words just
I'm just so moved by
what
you have to say.
I understand. The Irish could have their hands full with Johnny Andre. That kid he's really something to watch. If you give him a crack, he'll make it a big game. Irish counter with Cortez Williams. He's enjoying a great freshman season at running back. So this could be, it's funny to call a one-win game the game of the week, but as far as being a good, competitive, maybe entertaining, fun game to watch, this could be it, Sean.
Yeah, and it's really any one of the games. I'm all right. I promise. I'm okay.
I'm talking.
It must be this seat. Mike couldn't work this week. I'm feeling it. It's the seat. Any one of those games that we just talked about could be the game of the week. It could end up as a really close, good game with some upset potential in a couple of them as well. So that's all the Friday games, right?
That's it, buddy.
Everything on Friday night. Remember, Trenton at Allentown. We'll go live at 5:45 p.m. on 107.7 The Bronx, 6 o'clock p.m. kickoff, but keep an eye on the WBCB Sports and at Fish for Scores Twitters to confirm that. When we come back, we'll talk about the Saturday games this weekend. This is the Mercer County Football Show with Rich Fisher. I'm Sean Lerman, presented by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton. We'll be right back.
Merrill Reese, here to tell you about my good friends at Holloman Ford Subaru on Route 33 in Hamilton Township. For outstanding sales and service, you can depend on the folks at Holloman Ford Subaru for the best value on new and pre-owned Ford cars, trucks, and SUVs, along with a great selection of value-priced new and pre-owned Subarus. And no one offers the service that Holloman does in their huge, state-of-the-art service facility. Service so great that many area municipalities and commercial fleets get their service performed by Holloman Ford Subaru. From Langhorne to Princeton, folks like you to commercial fleets trust the name Holloman for sales and service. Holloman Ford Subaru, Route 33 in Hamilton Township.
Welcome back to the Mercer County Football Show, presented by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton. With Rich Fisher, I'm Sean Lerman. As we continue our breakdown of the upcoming games this weekend, on Saturday we'll have Steiner at Nottingham on 1490 WBCB, the Battle of Clockner Road. Always a big one, an exciting game, Steiner and Nottingham. So we'll have that one for you Saturday afternoon. But there's a lot going on this weekend in Mercer County football on Saturday. We talked about the good games Friday night. There's some good ones on Saturday as well. Let's start with that Steiner at Nottingham.
Yeah, and then let me tell you something, boys. Steiner would love nothing more than to come taking that bus down Clockner Road, that 1.5-mile ride, and turn the fortunes of Nottingham around. I mean, obviously, these are Hamilton Township rivals. Steiner's 2-4, Nottingham's 4-2. Steiner's struggling. They've lost their last 2 games. And really, their defense is struggling. They've allowed 67 points in 2 losses to Hopewell and Allentown. Giving Allentown 33 points actually isn't even bad.
I was going to say, that's an okay defensive effort.
Maybe that was a
10
good
under their average over their Allentown's
for
last
4 games. You're right. Nottingham obviously is, coming out. Nottingham is obviously got back on the right track last week after that tough loss to Notre Dame. They beat a good team. Steiner's defense is going to have to come up, and Nottingham's not going to do anything fancy. This is we were talking to Adams after the game. They're going to come out. They're going to line up. They're going to run the ball behind an offensive line that Adams went. He unsolicited, he just went off talking about how great his offensive line has been this year, how underrated they are, and they're all young. There's only one guy on there. So he just said we're physical. Wear your crash helmet. We're gonna come. We're gonna try to block you. We're gonna run the ball. We're not gonna do anything fancy. So it's gonna be mano a mano. Let's see, battle of the trenches, how it works out. Spartans, like I said, would love to get a win over these guys, but it's gonna be tough.
Yeah, it's one of those. Now you don't really have to throw the records out the window because both teams are within a couple of games with
Right.
each other. But every year you see Steiner Nottingham, and you can throw the records out the window for that one if you need to.
Any of those 3 township games.
Yeah.
Yep.
So as we continue on with our Saturday games, that one again, Steiner at Nottingham on 1490 WBCB. Hopewell at Northern Burlington is a game where Hopewell struggled a bit this year, but so is Northern Burlington. So this is an opportunity for both teams to maybe put one in the win column.
Right. Well, Northern, they're coming off their first win of the season. They beat Princeton 42-27. Hopewell's coming off a tough loss, 41-7 last week to I forget who they played. Who Hopewell play
Last week, Hopewell played Lenape and lost 41-7. I mean,
Lenape beats everybody 41. Lenape's a very good team. Neither team's in the hunt for a playoff berth, but you know what? This would be a nice win for Hopewell to go out and get, if only because Burlington County teams have really been having their way with Mercer County teams this year in these West Jersey games. They've been winning the majority of games. Hopewell's 0-3 against Burlington County competition. It'd be nice for Hopewell to go out and get something from the Southern County and, just give Mercer a win or something against a Burlington County team. So, there's always something to play for, Sean.
Yeah, absolutely. As we continue with our Saturday games, another one to keep an eye on. West Windsor Plainsboro South will be playing at Pensauken. That's one to keep an eye on, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, West Windsor's going to be coming in a little upset that, Hightstown got their first win against them. So, no team likes to be the team that you get their first win against. But Pirates got another huge game from Zion Cooper. He ran for 254 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's got to be the most underrated back in Central Jersey because he plays for a team that doesn't win. So they don't get a lot of exposure and everything like that. I mean, but this kid's unbelievable with what he does. Pensauken's coming in. They've won 2 straight. They're actually trying to get a first-round playoff game in the Central Jersey Group 4 playoffs. They're 4th right now. So they come in really with a lot to play for. So West Windsor's going to have to be ready for this game. A very improved West Windsor team, too, we might add.
Last game on our radar for this Saturday, the Ewing game against Princeton. As we mentioned, Ewing 1-3 in their last 4 after starting the game 3-0. So they'll look to right the ship against a Princeton team that struggled a bit over this year.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, they've lost 2 straight, 3 of 4. It's their last game to gain PowerPoint since this is their 7th game. But like we said earlier, they look pretty entrenched in second place in Central Jersey 3. So I don't know how big this is, but you still want to win the game.
Yeah, I think it's big in terms of just momentum. Okay, we got past that point in the season where we sort of faltered a bit, and now looking for the playoffs.
Right. Now, Princeton last week, they had their second highest score in total of the year with 27 points, but they became Northern Burlington's first victim. Greyhounds took that 42-27 win. On paper, Ewing looks like they should win this game. Princeton struggling and everything like that, but who knows? I mean, we've seen crazy things happen the whole season. So I really don't know, what to look for here. I think Ewing will win, but do I know it? No.
No, yeah, I mean, you can't predict anything.
No.
There's been some wild ones this season.
Yeah.
It's been a fun one. It'll continue to be fun this weekend. Again, I know I keep saying it. I'll say it again. Friday night, Trenton at Allentown on 107.7 FM The Bronx, 6 p.m. kickoff. Keep an eye on the WBCB Sports and Fish for Scores Twitters for information on that game. And Saturday afternoon, Steiner at Nottingham on 1490 AM WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com. This has been the Mercer County Football Show. He's Rich Fisher. I'm Sean Lerman filling in for Mike Samsel today. This show, as always, brought to you by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton. We'll see you next week.
And go Cubbies.
Go Cubbies.